When most people think of 70s movies, they think of Scorsese and Coppola, Spielberg and Lucas. But beyond the heat shimmer of LA and the urban canyons of New York, a world of exciting new cinema opened up in the 70s. As Willy Brandt became Chancellor in Germany, as Iran got rich, as decolonized Africa worked out what it wanted to be, as Japan got even more radical, movie makers in Germany, Iran, Britain, Africa, Asia and Italy asked big, brilliant questions about themselves and their countries. German cinema conquered the world in the 1910s and 20s, and Leni Riefenstahl had been brilliant but misguided in the 30s and 40s. After the war and the division of Germany, a great studio, DEFA, started making films in the East. Then the Berlin Wall was built. Come the 70s, there was so much to deplore and rethink that it's no surprise that German cinema of the time was about identity and history. This man, Wim Wenders, was one of a generation of young filmmakers who wanted to create a new German film. They did so through common cause.
The new German cinema was nothing but that sort of solidarity of 15 powerless people to become a powerful union.
Rainer Werner Fassbinder stated the aims clearly to interviewers.
The basic idea of the new German cinema is to make films again, which are important and have something to say. Films born out of our own life and experience.
A massive generation gap had opened up between baby boomers and their parents, who either voted for Adolf Hitler or endured him. An economic boom in West Germany had begun to numb the guilt about the Holocaust. New right-wing tabloid newspapers pasted contentment over everything. The new German filmmakers knew that they wanted none of this. But what did they want? Who were they? What made their hearts beat fast? Here's the most prolific of them, Fassbinder, naked in front of his own camera, displaying his personal life on the big screen. He said, "The ideal is to make films as beautiful as America's, but to move the content to other areas." So he took this beautiful romantic American film with sweet orchestral music, All That Heaven Allows, about this woman who's shunned because she has a romance with her younger working class gardener, and remade it as this far less glossy, less beautiful movie, Fear Eats the Soul.
So, das ist mein Mann. El-Hedi Ben Salem Mbarek Mohammed Mustafa. Ich nenne ihn Ali.
Fassbinder uses this very Hollywood tracking shot to show the prejudice of the woman's family. And here he plays a part in the film. In the remake, the woman is shunned by society not because her lover's working class, but because he's black. Fear Eats the Soul was about the darkness of human identity, as was this film that Fassbinder made 2 years previously. The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, Fassbinder's 13th film, told the story of a famous clothes designer who lives with her assistant, Marlene, who's really her slave. Fassbinder has his actors move slowly, inexpressively, as if they're haunted or exhausted. The part of Marlene was partly based on Irm Hermann, who plays her herself in the movie, always in this same black dress. She was Fassbinder's secretary and lover in real life, and he treated her appallingly, sometimes beating her in public. Body language in the film expresses its tragedy. Wigs and makeup conjure its cruel artifice. Fassbinder had in mind this classic American movie, All About Eve, another film about two women controlling each other, fueled by alcohol and all dolled up.
Tuck me in, turn out the lights and tiptoe out. Eve would, wouldn't you, Eve?
If you'd like.
I wouldn't like.
But as he always did, Fassbinder took the American story much further. Petra falls in love with this woman in brown, Karen, and becomes her slave.
Ich kann doch nichts dafür, dass ich dich liebe. Ich kann doch nichts dafür. Ich brauche
The Poussin painting in the background is also about abjection.
Ich will doch alles tun.
Midas begs Bacchus to rid him of the power to turn things into
Ich hab
gold.
doch nichts als dich. Nein.
Eventually, the agonies of love ruin Petra.
Ich hasse dich.
Spit drips from her mouth. She's alone in an empty room, waiting for the phone to ring. The new German cinema had stolen an American story, then rubbed its nose in the dirt. It loved Hollywood, but sneered at its lies about identity and love.
Ich kann nicht mehr.
Where Fassbinder's films were often about women in confined spaces, those of Wim Wenders were about men in open spaces. And where it was the style of American films that influenced Fassbinder, it was America itself and its utopianism that was Wenders' jumping off point. In his unforgettable road movie, Alice in the Cities, the camera cranes down under a boardwalk to find Rüdiger Wergler, a journalist who's drifting and numb. Wenders saw himself in him. This is Wenders' notebook and storyboard for this boardwalk scene. Later, Wenders has Wergler arranged to meet a woman at the top of the Empire State Building. Again, he's using an iconic American location. He shoots in natural light, Wergler's drifting, melancholic music. 17 years earlier, about a world away, Hollywood director Leo McCarey had Cary Grant arranged to meet Deborah Kerr there. This scene was shot in a studio, visually precise, crisp, coloured, controlled. Whereas Wenders' eye roams, long lens, unsure of what it's looking for. It's as if Wenders is saying, remember what it was like to feel? Where Wenders defined modern German identity in relationship to America, our next director was more interested in gender. Margareta von Trotta started as an actress. This is her in a Fassbinder film, insolent, like a German Julie Christie. Then she made her solo directorial debut with The Second Awakening of Christa Klages. The title character, Christa, robs a bank. But von Trotta's robbery is one of the least tense or macho ever filmed. There's no shouting or sync sound, just mellow music. Von Trotta focuses instead on the relationship between Christa and this bank clerk, who Christa at first takes hostage. In the film's climax, Christa's caught by the police and confronted by the clerk.
Fräulein Seidelhofer, erinnern Sie sich. Sehen Sie sich diese Frau genau an.
The clerk's been hunting her throughout the movie, but then this happens.
Kann sie bitte die Brille und den Strumpf abnehmen?
Von Trotta uses close-ups, almost direct-to-camera eye lines. This creates intimacy and equality between the two women.
War das die Frau?
Nein, die ist es bestimmt nicht.
Where Leni Riefenstahl's films were expressionist and about men, von Trotta's were impressionist portraits of women's intimacy in violent times. The next German filmmaker of the 70s went to the end of the earth to find himself. He's German cinema's wild man, its explorer. At the age of 18, Werner Herzog ventured across the Sudan. He walked from Munich to Paris. In 1982, to make his film Fitzcarraldo, Herzog and his crew hauled a full-sized ship, this is a model of it, up and over a hilly jungle isthmus in Peru. A dangerous idea that people tried to make safer, but as this location filming, with Herzog speaking passionately in Spanish, shows, he saw the haul not only as a physical feat, but in symbolic terms.
La metáfora central de mi película es que jalan un barco a un cerro prácticamente imposible. Si yo pierdo eso en un terreno como casi el canal de Panamá, se pierde mi metáfora central de la película.
And look at this key moment in the film. The boat's being hauled, the crew seems to move it. The documentary camera is far back from the action, but captures the rejoicing. But then, one of the ropes breaks.
All these dreams are yours as well. And the only distinction between me and you is that I can articulate them. And that is what poetry or painting or literature or filmmaking is all about. It's as simple as that.
Herzog's eyes in this interview shows exhaustion. He's talking about universal things, but he's almost crying.
And I know I can do it to a certain degree.
Like Pasolini, Herzog was a romantic. He wasn't much interested in the feminism of von Trotta or the Americana of Wenders. He was far more taken by primeval life. After John Ford, he's the most important landscape filmmaker to appear so far in our story.